Whiskey, now new and improved. Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. If it's Wednesday, we have a cocktail video coming at you. And today is a very important day because this is the first day of old-fashioned October. October we'll be spending the whole month talking about old fashions, kind of in one way or another. So on the first day of old fashioned October, we're actually going to talk about the precursors to the old fashioned. So there was two cocktails that came before the old fashioned, not particularly imaginatively named the whiskey cocktail and the improved whiskey cocktail. So these are the cocktails that are sort of your initial whiskey-based cocktails. You go back to the 1850s, 1860s. And the improved whiskey cocktail a little bit more recent than that. Now, we're going to be talking about these two cocktails as two definitively different cocktails, but they're really more an evolution of one into the other. The whiskey cocktail is sort of what people started drinking when they started getting into bourbons. I mean, you can make this cocktail with scotch, with any whiskey you want, but in this case, we're going to be making it actually with a rye whiskey. And as cocktail culture began to sort of evolve, they made the drink a little bit more complicated. Some people believe that when you get into the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, that the cocktails become too complicated and they want to get something that is old-fashioned and kind of taking you back to its roots. So, what we're going to make both of these cocktails simultaneously. They're very, very similar, and see what we think about them. Okay, so we've got all our ingredients set out. We're going to mix both of these. We're just going to put them together at the same time. So these drinks are going to start off their life the same. So we're going to start off with 2 dashes of our Boker's bitters. These are actually kind of hard to come by. I had to order mine. They're not typically stocked a lot of places. And we're going to do just a 1/2 ounce of our gum syrup. It's just a simple syrup with gum arabica powder in it. Now, as I said, we are going to go ahead and use a rye whiskey for this. If you prefer Scotch, you prefer Irish whiskey, that's perfectly fine. This is just what we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and toss in 2 ounces. And 2 ounces. So this is going to be our whiskey cocktail. This is going to be our improved whiskey cocktail. So our improved whiskey cocktail, we're also going to add in, they say, a dash of absinthe. I don't really have a dasher. I just have this in a little spray, so I'm just going to toss in 3 little squirts. And we're going to toss in just a 1/4 ounce of our Maraschino liqueur. Maraschino liqueur, however you prefer to pronounce it, it's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and mix these up. And one thing I didn't mention, some recipes in the whiskey cocktail actually call for a little bit of Curacao. I think they call for a dash or 2 dashes of Curacao. So you can add that in if you want to. I'm kind of leaving this just as it is because I think it's good to have it as sort of the very simplest version of that cocktail. Once you think it's good and chilled to the extent that you want it, we're just going to single strain this into a lowball glass or a rocks glass. Now I don't feel like there's much of a need to double strain this. We have not used any citrus in this, and we didn't shake it, so there's not going to be ice chunks in there or anything, so I'm just going to single strain. First going to do our improved. Do our just regular whiskey cocktail. All right, so we have our whiskey cocktail, our improved whiskey cocktail. Obviously, I'm going to start with the regular whiskey cocktail. So So it's really good. I'm using a rye here. Some of these recipes call for a bourbon. I think with adding the simple syrup into there, or gum syrup in there, I wouldn't use a bourbon. I think that's going to get a little bit too sweet. I think the gum syrup and the rye, you're getting your sweetness tamping back on your spiciness just a little bit. Your bitters are very much kind of around the outside. They're not real front and center, but you get them kind of at the edge of your palate. Very, very good, very drinkable cocktail. It does go to show you that sometimes simple cocktails are just fine. You don't need 75 ingredients to make a great cocktail. But let's see if our improved whiskey cocktail is improved. So now again, remember these are basically the same cocktail. Here we've just got the addition of our Maraschino liqueur and our absinthe. Okay, it's impossible to say that's not a significantly better cocktail. What you're doing with your whiskey cocktail is essentially accenting your whiskey with a little bit of sweet and a little bit of bitter. The improved whiskey cocktail it tastes like a cocktail. Your absinthe and your maraschino liqueur are working together in kind of an interesting way. It's like you feel like you get a little, there's more maraschino than there is absinthe, but the absinthe is there too. And you're getting the bitter. The bitters are diminished a little bit in this. If I was to redo this, I might actually toss in 3 or 4 dashes of bitters instead of just 2. But it's just got a really great development. It does have, you know, your absinthe is bringing some of the anise kind of around the edges, but it's not real. It's not like you're eating, you know, not like you're drinking, you know, Jägermeister or something like that. It's very much kind of subtle. So I would have to say that the improved whiskey cocktail is in fact improved from the original whiskey cocktail. I think I would probably go for this one. Your regular whiskey cocktail is not bad. It's a really nice, simple recipe. You know, as long as you have bitters. And by the way, I used our Boker's bitters. If you just have Angostura bitters around, you can try those. It's going to be a little bit different flavor. It's not going to hurt anything. But if you got your maraschino liqueur and your absinthe, I would definitely go for the improved. So we're going to keep talking about, next week we're actually going to make the regular old-fashioned. We might make it a couple different ways. I'm kind of still trying to decide how we're going to do that. We're going to talk about the old-fashioned, and then we're going to talk in a couple weeks about some variations on the old-fashioned. To be perfectly honest, the old-fashioned has never been one of my favorite drinks, and so I've sort of explored a lot of variations on ways you can do an old-fashioned differently, bring out some different flavors, use some different spirits, that kind of thing. But until then, enjoy your improved whiskey cocktail. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a good drink. Have a good day.